WISU presents Chop It Up the Podcast with Amere Dozier and Baylee Chamberlain. Your key to the sports world. Let's get to it. Let's chop it up. It's Chop It Up the Podcast. Amere Dozier and Baylee Chamberlain coming to you from the WISU studios. This is season 1, episode 1. I'm ready to get it started, man. This is what I've been anticipating. How you feeling today, Baylee?
Dude, I feel good. Me and you have been talking about this for a couple weeks, and now we're finally in the booth recording it. It's a lot of fun.
I'm definitely excited. I can feel the energy in the room right now. It's just something that we've been anticipating for so long. First season, first episode 1, so I want to go ahead and introduce myself, let Baylee introduce himself. Matter of fact, Baylee, you introduce yourself to the people first. Go ahead, tell them about yourself, the sports teams you like, where you're from, and all of those things.
All right, man. So pretty much my name's Baylee. I'm from Indianapolis. Huge into sports. I mean, that's why I'm sitting in front of a microphone talking about sports. But you already know I'm rocking with the Pacers and the Colts, man. Not a lot of people give them credit, but teams are dangerous, and we're going to make a lot of noise in the NFL and the NBA season, I think, this year. And you guys will hear as the weeks go on, we'll talk a lot about them. So you guys will get familiar with that. What was the other question?
I didn't have another question.
Okay, that's fair.
It's my turn to introduce myself. Right. So I'm Amere Dozier. I'm from South Bend, Indiana. So I'm a big fan of Notre Dame. Like I said, I'm from Indiana, so I do like the Colts. I do like the Pacers. This is what's going to make this podcast different from the other ones, because we're not like everybody else you're going to listen to. What makes us different is we stay where we're at. This is WISU. We're on Indiana State University's campus right now. So we're in Terre Haute. We keep it local, and we go national with it. So you're going to hear Indiana State sports. You're going to hear the local high school sports, but you're also going to hear the national sports. You're going to hear the Colts. You're going to hear.
We cover them all, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And that's because we really like them all, for real. Yeah. We really like when I met Baylee, I'm telling you, this dude was calling a volleyball game. A volleyball game. I was like, what? So I'm telling you, all of the sports, we're going to give it to you. We are literally your key to the sports world.
That's right. Chop it up.
All right, so we're going to start every episode from here on out with Baylee unlocking the sports world for you guys. And the way that works is he's going to read off a couple of local headlines for you.
All right, so in local news here in Terre Haute, the West Vigo boys soccer team fell 3-0 in the IHSAA regional semifinal.
Oh.
It did end their season.
That's good. I mean, semifinals, that's not bad.
Not at all.
10-7-3.
It's a winning record.
Yeah.
And then for some Indiana State, the women's soccer team, they're heading to Illinois tonight to face Loyola Chicago. That's their second to last game before playing the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, man. You know how conference tournaments go.
So right after we get done with local headlines, we'll always jump right into Sycamore Spotlight. And Baylee, the first thing we're going to start Sycamore Spotlight with is Indiana State versus the number 3 South Dakota State football team. And we both were at the game. Yep. Both got to see it up close and personal.
Yep.
That was crazy.
Man, the beginning of that game, because I was in the truck. Remember,
it was good in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was good in the beginning.
I texted you, and I said, uh-oh, because, dude, so South Dakota State scored with ease, and then Indiana State, they just kept fumbling it, and then South Dakota State missed a field goal.
I remember that, first off, this game, Indiana State had four turnovers. Yeah, so that's probably the most I've ever seen them turn over the ball.
You can't win the game if you give it back to the number 3 ranked team in the nation.
And it's crazy because, you got to take advantage. I'm not going to lie. I heard a lot, Coach Mallory talk a lot about them when I watched, interviews, after the game. He talked a lot about how the turnovers really didn't matter. It was just because they didn't take advantage of opportunities.
Right.
But I mean, you kind of throwing your opportunity away if you're fumbling.
Have to think
and I remember
so they lost the ball. They turned it over 4 times, so they gave it to them 4 times. They lost every of the turnovers. Those are 4 possessions. That's 28 points potentially not on that scoreboard if they get touchdowns on those drives. You know what I'm saying?
And it changed so quick. It went from 7-7 in the first quarter.
Dude,
it was 21-7. Towards the end of the second quarter, probably about 75% through the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then that last, the end of the second quarter, I didn't even get to see all of the touchdowns. They scored 4 unanswered touchdowns out of nowhere.
Yep. You look up, it's 35-10 at halftime.
So at this point, what can you tell your team? You're the head coach. You're going into halftime. You're down by so much. what message are you spreading going into halftime? Because you could be saying anything. So I got a chance to talk to Coach Mallory and ask him, and this is what he said the message was at halftime.
Okay. I think, the message offensively was can't kill drives. We're not going to do anything different. We're not going to start, throwing the ball deep. We're going to stay to what we practiced all week, moving the football, run the ball, staying in the plan, and run our offense. And we were going to get the ball the second half, and we knew we had to, get some points on the board. Defensively, our main purpose in life on defense, get the ball back.
Would you say you agree with that message going into halftime?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much hit it spot on. When you're down 35-10, you have to score every time with the football. So they can't have the drives where they'll go 3 and out, or they'll go get a couple first downs and then punt it away, because that just gives South Dakota State, for an example, a chance to just extend that league. So what he was saying was true, but
one thing he said that I agree with really heavily is when he said that we can't kill drive.
Yeah.
Me and you were just talking about 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
That's true. You can't kill drives. As far as it being 35-10, what my message to my team would be, that's what my main message would have been. Because, and I would have been on the defense too, because me and you talk about ISU football all the time, and I know you hear me all the time say the defense is the real stars of this team.
It
the
is
defense,
100%.
And it is.
Yeah.
But the first drive of the South Dakota State, Indiana State game, the defense got tore up.
Yeah,
and they got scored on in like 8 plays, and it was in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So even that, you would have had to go in there and give them a message also. You got to tell them, like, hey, this is not the football we play on defense. This is not what we do.
And they actually played decent. And they didn't have Glasgow, which he's a huge hit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they could have played better, obviously. But I think for the task given, I think they played pretty well.
Yeah.
The defense did, but their offense was the problem.
And they've got 4 losses on the season.
Yeah.
Do you think you can take away more from a loss or from a win?
I don't really know.
I think that's a really hard question, like in sports, because everybody in real life would say, okay, well in life, you're gonna learn more from a loss, but in sports, it's not like that. I mean,
when
you're gonna win. You're gonna probably learn a lot more. You probably would learn a lot from a loss.
Of course, because there's always stuff to work on. But when you have a win, you take the win. You always take the win, but you look at, okay, we won, but what can we still improve on? That's what a team needs to do to be successful. There's always going to be spots that you can work on. Even if you win, you go to practice that next week and you fix those, or you try to fix them in preparation for the next games.
Yeah, and to be honest, like at this point, ISU is just, they're playing to make their record as good as it can be, because playoff-wise, it's done for.
And it sucks, man. Going into the season, I was excited.
Yeah.
I mean, no one could have expected their quarterback out for season.
That is a big hit. That is a big hit. And the next game, the game that'll be tomorrow, they'll be playing. They're heading to Normal, Illinois. They're going to be facing Illinois State, and they're 0-2 away. And one
Illinois
of those
State's ranked 7th too.
And one of those 0-2 loss, Boyle was the quarterback.
Yep.
He was definitely starting. So, this is what I feel about the team. I think adversity-wise, they have faced adversity well, because Boyle was not their only injury. They've been having injuries all year.
Yeah.
So,
both sides of the ball, too.
What'd you say?
They're having injuries, both sides of the ball. Their defense and offense.
Yeah.
Just killing them.
So what exactly are you expecting to see in this game when they head to Illinois State?
Man, it's going to be a tough one. We've already mentioned it's a road game. I'm pretty sure it's Illinois State's homecoming game, which that's pretty much a tradition. I'm pretty sure they usually play us for homecoming, and it's vice versa. But, yeah, Illinois State ranks 7th in all of FCS. They're 3rd in the Valley behind North and South Dakota State. It'll be a very hard matchup for Indiana State, but they're fully capable. But it's definitely going to be tough.
What do you think, what would be the keys for them to win exactly? What do they have to do? Because, to be honest, this is how I look at the team, and this is what I see out of the team. Defensively, we actually got some pretty decent talent. I think defensively
100%.
we're a good football team. I think offensively there's just a few hiccups here and there. I think like the running game, that's decent, that's good. But then how long can you run the ball until people start finding out what that is, and then they start shutting that down? Because once you know somebody's running the ball, it's easy to stop them. Unless you're like Alabama and you got an NFL offensive line going against a bunch of college kids. Yeah. But when you're like, when you're Indiana State and people see, okay, they like to run, they're going to start sending the blitz. And it's over with.
You've seen teams do that. I think in the last couple of weeks, Indiana State has not been the running team that we saw in the beginning of the season. And it really sucks because...
that's crazy that you just mentioned that, because one thing that I noticed, like looking at the stats of the last game, Coach Mallory has definitely been passing a lot more.
Yeah.
And he just said in the audio, like, we're going to stick to us. We're not... But I seen him... They definitely pass the ball more than they usually do.
And you got to think, too, because Boyle could do both. Boyle was really, really good on the run.
Yeah.
So now when your running backs aren't doing...
don't like that.
Yep. When your running backs aren't doing as well and the defense is not allowing you to run like they want to, then with Boyle in there, they could run with their quarterback and still get those rushing yards. Now with Wilderman and all that, they're kind of having to pass, which I'm fine with because I think Curtis is a really good passer and he can move the offense a lot better, but... I don't know, because they're not running it how we saw in the beginning of the season with Curlegrand putting up 150 plus.
And I like I said, I like the run game, but offensively, I feel like they actually should pass more. I think they got talent, like
they do,
especially with the receivers.
Yep.
You got Collins, and then they got Daphne, which me and you like the most.
Dude,
that they definitely
man.
I never see Daphne get any catches.
No, man.
And he's like the biggest receiver on the team.
He went to Iowa, man, just like Boyle. He was an Iowa transfer.
Yeah.
Big Ten school. The dude knows what he's a big receiver. You out there and you let him make catches, man. But
I swear.
I don't know.
All right, so another and we're still sticking here with Sycamore Spotlight. Another team that'll be playing soon is Indiana State Volleyball. They'll be facing Northern Iowa.
We'll be out there, man. We'll be doing that game.
Yeah, man. That's something I forgot to mention in the beginning. Me and Baylee. I didn't forget to mention. Baylee was calling a volleyball game. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah. I also worked at the same place he worked when he was calling the volleyball game at ESPN 3.
Yep.
So
catch
we
us
get
on
to
there, viewers. If you guys ever want to tune in, we'll be on there.
For sure, yeah. They definitely tune in. But we definitely will be at the game for Illinois State and Indiana State. So that's going on tonight. I'll be doing sideline reporting. Baylee is doing play-by-play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then they'll have...
I think Grace is doing...
Yeah. I don't know her last name for sure, so I'm not going to say... I didn't want to say her name because I didn't want to just say Grace.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Indiana State, they're coming off a 3-2 conference win against Southern Illinois. And if you know about their volleyball team, they're young.
Very young.
Very young.
They got talent, though, man. They're kind of fun to watch, but you don't see that on the record,
You probably heard me say this. I actually like the volleyball team.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of the sports teams that we're around all of the sports teams.
Dude, we have to be. That's our job.
Here on campus.
Yeah.
And, like, the ones that I enjoy the most, like, enjoy being around the most, is the volleyball team. And they're young, I can give you that, but they have a lot of fun.
Dude, all the time.
Yeah, and the coach, Coach Almond, she's actually a pretty cool person.
She's great.
Redshirt senior Cassie Cowell, she got her her season high actually last game with 15 kills against Southern Illinois.
She's a boss, man.
And just them hosting Northern Illinois tonight, I think I'm sorry, Northern Iowa tonight. Yeah. I think it's good because they get that home court advantage. And they're already coming off of momentum. I don't think they've had this much momentum. There's a lot of momentum coming in.
They're coming in off a win finally.
They're coming in off a win, but they're at home coming in off of a win. Yep. So that's even
Friday
better.
Night too. This should be kind of popping.
Now this is the thing though. Going into this game, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder because they lost to Northern Iowa already.
Yes, sir.
So how important you think a win over Northern Illinois is, just considering the fact that they're such
Northern Iowa
young team? Did I say it again?
Yeah, you said it again.
Wow.
It's all good. But yeah, well, I mean, when me and you talked to Coach Allman one time, remember she said it's important to split these conference.
Yeah.
Because in volleyball, you play each team twice. You play one at your house, one at their house. So you want to split them just in case you guys are tied in the standings. That bumps you up, blah, blah, blah. You just don't want to get swept by any team. So it's a huge one. I'm actually pulling